All right, let's jump right in. Today we're looking into a real-life space thriller,
Oh, yeah.
the Chelyabinsk Meteor.
Definitely a thriller.
Now picture this, you're just going about your day in Russia,
Right?
February 15th, 2013, and all of a sudden the sky just explodes with a flash brighter than the sun.
Yeah, it was definitely a stark reminder, I think, that we live on a planet that's constantly interacting with
Yeah.
a really active universe.
Oh yeah, for sure. And we're gonna
Yeah.
unpack all of that, what happened, why it happened, what it
Yeah.
all means for us today.
Exactly.
And we've got some really interesting sources to dig into for this one.
Yeah.
We've got Wikipedia articles in both English and Spanish
Okay.
to kind of give us a basic understanding of the event. And then we can go a little bit deeper with a report from the Meteoritical Bulletin,
Right.
which is kind of like the official record keeper for
Yeah.
anything that falls out of the sky.
Anything that comes from space,
Yeah,
they're on it.
exactly.
We've also got some incredible visualizations and data from NASA's Scientific Visualization Studio.
Oh, cool.
And then to round things out, we've got an article from the Planetary Society, which I know you're a big fan of.
Oh, huge fan. Yeah, they do some great work advocating for, protecting our planet from these sorts of things.
Protecting us from those rogue asteroids.
That's right. Yeah. So by the end of this deep dive, you'll have a really solid understanding of this event, the Chelyabinsk event, the science behind it,
Yeah.
and why it matters so much even today.
Absolutely. And you know what's amazing about this event is how well documented it is. Because remember, this was 2013.
Yeah.
Dash cams were already everywhere in Russia.
Yeah.
So when this thing blazed across the sky, well, let's just say we have a lot of footage
Yeah.
of a lot of very surprised Russians.
I've seen some of that footage.
Oh, yeah.
It is wild. And we'll be sure to link that in the show notes so everybody listening can check it out for themselves. But
Yeah.
even just reading the descriptions, it's pretty crazy.
Oh, yeah, for sure. People talking about it being brighter than the sun.
Yeah.
And then this massive shockwave
Oh, yeah.
hitting shattering windows,
Oh, my gosh.
damaging buildings.
Wow. Yeah, reading about the aftermath, it's really incredible that nobody was seriously hurt.
I know, it's pretty miraculous.
Yeah, but I think that brings up a good question.
Yeah,
What exactly was this thing?
right.
Was it a meteor? Was it a meteorite or something else entirely?
So scientists call this a bolide, which is basically a super bright meteor that explodes in the atmosphere.
Okay.
And the Chelyabinsk bolide was about 20 meters in diameter.
Okay.
So picture like a bowling lane
Okay, got it.
hurtling through space,
Oh, wow.
and it was traveling at 19 kilometers per second.
Per second.
Yeah.
That is insane.
It's incredibly fast. To put that into perspective, that's like crossing the entire continental U.S. in about 4 minutes.
Wow.
And when this thing exploded, the energy release was equivalent to about 500 kilotons of TNT.
Okay, so to put that into perspective, the atomic bomb dropped on Hiroshima was about 15 kilotons.
Right.
So we're talking over 30 times more powerful.
Yeah, it's a huge amount of energy. And thankfully, it did explode high up, about 30 kilometers above the ground.
Right.
If it had detonated closer to the surface, the damage would have been absolutely catastrophic.
Oh, that's a scary thought.
Yeah,
Okay, so where did this thing even come from?
right.
Were scientists tracking this? Were they aware of it?
That's where it gets even more unsettling because no one saw it coming.
Wow.
It approached from the direction of the sun,
Oh.
making it really difficult to detect with our ground-based telescopes.
So it just kind of snuck up on us.
It really did. It just
Hmm.
snuck up on us, this bowling lane-sized chunk of space rock, traveling at tens of thousands of miles per hour, and exploded with the force of a small nuclear weapon.
I think I need a minute to process that.
Yeah, it's a lot to take in. And you know what makes it even wilder is that on the very same day, a completely unrelated asteroid called 367943 Duende was predicted to pass by Earth later that evening.
Really?
Yeah, and the Planetary Society was even hosting a webinar about it.
Wow. What are the chances?
I know, it's almost like the universe was trying to send us a message that day.
Right. Like, hey, pay attention.
Exactly, pay attention.
Yeah.
There's stuff out there.
Yeah, there's stuff out there, and it can sneak up on you.
It really can. And you know what's interesting is that the Chelyabinsk event wasn't just a cosmic scare.
Right.
It actually had a major impact on how we think about planetary defense.
Okay, so let's shift gears and talk about that for a second, because knowing that something like this can happen, and seemingly out of nowhere, what are we doing to prevent it from happening again,
Right.
especially with, potentially even bigger objects?
Well, I think Chelyabinsk was kind of like a wake-up call.
Yeah.
It showed us that we can't just focus on those, planet killer asteroids, the ones like the one that wiped out the dinosaurs.
Right.
We need to be aware of the smaller ones too,
Right.
the ones that could still cause a lot of damage if they were to hit.
Right. Yeah, you don't want to be so focused on the grizzly bears that you forget about the mosquitoes.
Exactly. They
Right.
can still make you really sick.
That's right.
Right.
So how do we find these smaller objects?
Right.
The ones that are, still potentially hazardous.
That's where projects like the NEO Surveyor come in.
Okay.
This is a space telescope that's being developed by NASA, and it's specifically designed to hunt for asteroids,
Okay.
including those smaller ones that we might have missed with ground-based telescopes.
Oh, okay. So it's like our dedicated scout out in space.
Exactly.
Okay.
Looking for anything suspicious.
That's great. And it's not just about finding them, though, right? It's about understanding.
It's about understanding their composition, their trajectories,
Right.
and figuring out ultimately what we can do if one is on a collision course with Earth.
Which brings us to the big question. Planetary defense.
That's a big one.
I know it sounds like something out of a science fiction movie, but what are we actually doing to protect ourselves from these threats?
Well, the first step is detection,
Right.
which we've talked about. But once we found a potentially hazardous asteroid,
Yeah.
there are a few different strategies that are being explored.
Okay.
One option is what's called a kinetic impactor.
A kinetic what now?
A kinetic impactor.
Okay.
So basically, you slam a spacecraft into the asteroid at high speed,
Okay.
hoping to nudge it off course,
Oh, okay.
like playing cosmic billiards.
I like that analogy.
Yeah.
Okay, so not blowing it up like in the movies.
Yeah, no, that's actually not the preferred option.
Okay.
Blowing up an asteroid might seem dramatic,
Yeah.
but it could create a cloud of smaller fragments,
Right.
which could still be dangerous.
Right. You don't want to turn one big bullet into a shotgun blast.
Exactly. You want to try to deflect it as a whole.
Right. Okay, so are these planetary defense strategies just theoretical, or are we actually putting them into practice?
We're moving beyond theory, thankfully. Okay, good. NASA recently conducted a mission called DART, the Double Asteroid Redirection Test.
Okay.
They actually sent a spacecraft to crash into a small asteroid moonlet to see if they could alter its orbit.
And did it work?
It did.
Wow.
The DART mission was a success. They managed to actually change the asteroid's orbital period,
Wow.
proving that we can deflect these objects if we need to.
That is incredible.
It's pretty amazing.
Okay, let's go back to Chelyabinsk for a moment. I'm curious what happened to the actual meteor itself.
Right.
Did it completely burn up in the atmosphere, or were there pieces left behind?
Here's where it gets really interesting, because while most of the meteor did burn up, fragments of it survived and actually fell to Earth as meteorites.
Oh, wow.
Some people even witnessed them falling from the sky after the explosion.
So they saw this massive explosion and then got a meteorite shower.
Pretty much.
That's both amazing and slightly terrifying.
It's a pretty unique experience, to say the least.
Right.
And those recovered fragments, they're incredibly valuable to scientists because they provide clues about the meteor's composition, where it came from, and even about the early solar system.
So I'm betting they also became pretty sought-after collector's items.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Some fragments were sold at auction, and they fetched really high prices.
Wow. Can you imagine owning a piece of space rock?
It would be amazing.
That was part of that event. Yeah.
Yeah.
That would be incredible. And, the Spanish Wikipedia article about the event mentions that the aftermath wasn't just broken windows and a few minor injuries.
Right.
Over 700 people actually sought medical attention.
Yeah, emergency services were overwhelmed.
Wow.
It really underscores the potential for chaos and disruption, even when the impact itself isn't directly causing widespread destruction.
So even though Chelyabinsk was relatively small,
Right.
it showed us that we could be really unprepared for something larger. And I'm also curious about something else. The Planetary Society article mentions that they were hosting a webinar that day about a completely different asteroid passing by Earth.
Yeah.
What are the chances of that?
It is a remarkable coincidence.
Yeah.
Two unrelated asteroids making close approaches to Earth on the same day. It does make you wonder, doesn't it?
It does. It almost feels like a cosmic message.
Right.
Like reminding us about the vastness of space and all the things we don't know about it.
Exactly. And it makes you think about how much more is out there
Yeah.
that we haven't even seen yet.
It's a little unsettling.
It is.
Okay, well, speaking of unsettling, the Meteoritical Bulletin gives a really detailed breakdown of the Chelyabinsk meteor's composition, and they classified it as an LL5 chondrite.
Right.
What does that even mean?
So it's kind of like a cosmic fingerprint
Okay.
that tells us about the meteor's origins.
Okay.
So LL means it has low iron content,
Okay.
and the 5 relates to its petrologic type,
Okay.
which essentially means it's experienced a lot of heating and changes over time.
So it's not just a random chunk of rock. It has a history, a story to tell about its journey through space.
Exactly. And by studying its composition, scientists can actually learn more about the formation of asteroids, the early solar system, and even the conditions that led to life on Earth.
Wow. That's mind-blowing to think that this event, as terrifying as it was, could also unlock so many secrets about our place in the universe.
It's pretty incredible,
But I have to admit, I'm still a little unsettled by the fact that nobody saw this thing coming
right?
if it had been bigger or on a slightly different trajectory.
It's a sobering thought, and it highlights the importance of continued research and investment in planetary defense.
Yeah.
We need better detection systems, more advanced deflection technologies, and a global network of experts working together to protect our planet.
So what's being done on that front? Are there any other projects in the works besides the NEO Surveyor that are going to help us sleep a little better at night?
There are a lot of exciting developments happening.
Okay.
For example, there's a growing international effort to share data and resources
Mm.
related to asteroid detection and planetary defense.
Okay.
It's a recognition that this is a global challenge that requires a global response.
That's good to hear. But while we're talking about global responses, I remember reading something about how right after the event, some people actually blamed the U.S. government
Oh, yeah.
for the Chelyabinsk meteor.
There were some pretty outlandish conspiracy theories floating around
Okay.
claiming that it was a secret weapon test or something.
Come on, a U.S. weapon test? That seems a bit far-fetched.
It does, doesn't it?
Even for a conspiracy theory.
But it shows how quickly misinformation can spread,
Uh-huh.
especially after a shocking and unexplained event like this.
Right.
It reminds us of the importance of critical thinking and relying on credible sources of information.
Absolutely. So, to be clear for anyone listening, the Chelyabinsk meteor was a natural event,
Yes.
a reminder of the powerful forces at play in our universe,
Exactly.
not some government experiment gone wrong.
Precisely. It was a wake-up call, a reminder of our vulnerability, but also a catalyst for progress in the field of planetary defense.
I like that perspective. Like
Yeah.
it wasn't just a disaster, it was a turning point,
Yeah.
a moment that spurred us to action.
And that action is ongoing. The Chelyabinsk meteor event might have happened a decade ago,
Right?
but its legacy continues to shape our understanding of the cosmos and our efforts to protect our planet.
Okay, so we've covered the event itself,
Hmm.
the science, the impact, even the conspiracy theories.
We've covered it all.
But there's one more thing I wanted to touch on. Remember all those dashcam videos
Oh, yeah.
that captured the meteor streaking across the sky?
How could we forget?
I know, right? They weren't just scientifically valuable. They also turned the Chelyabinsk meteor into this global media sensation.
Absolutely.
It's true, those videos were everywhere, but it wasn't just the dramatic footage.
Right.
It was this whole idea of this. So Chelyabinsk wasn't just a scientific event.
No,
It was a cultural phenomenon.
it was.
It was a moment that made us collectively look up and reconsider our place in the cosmos.
And that's something worth reflecting on because, in a way, the Chelyabinsk meteor brought us together, reminding us of our shared vulnerability, but also our shared capacity for curiosity and innovation.
It's a powerful thought, but before we get too philosophical,
Yeah.
there's still one piece of the puzzle we haven't talked about.
Oh, what's that?
What happened to all those meteorites that landed in and around Chelyabinsk?
Right.
Did they just become museum exhibits and collector's items?
Well, many of them did end up in museums and research institutions.
Right,
Which is fantastic because they provide scientists with invaluable data
right,
for years to come.
right.
But some had a bit of a different fate.
Oh, tell me more.
Well, you remember that a large portion of the Chelyabinsk meteor is believed to have landed in Lake Shchebarko.
Yes, about 70 kilometers west of the city.
Exactly. So is there a giant space rock sitting at the bottom of a lake in Russia?
That's what I want to...
Not exactly giant, but it was a significant chunk.
Okay.
The largest fragment recovered from the lake weighed over 500 kilograms.
Wow!
That's over 1,100 pounds.
That's incredible. How did they even get it out of the lake?
It was quite an operation. They had to use special diving equipment
Oh, wow.
and a team of experts to carefully lift it from the lake bed.
Wow. So what happened to it? Where is it now?
That's where things get a bit mysterious.
Okay.
Some say it's being studied in a secret government lab.
Okay.
Others say it's on display in a private collection.
Okay.
There are even rumors that it was broken down and sold off piecemeal.
So nobody actually knows for sure where it is.
That's the thing about meteorites. They have a way of capturing our imaginations
Yeah.
and sparking all sorts of stories.
Right.
And sometimes the truth is even stranger than fiction.
That's a perfect way to end part 2. We've covered a lot of ground, but there's still more to explore. Join us in part 3 as we delve even deeper into the Chelyabinsk meteor event and uncover even more surprising facts and insights. Welcome back to the show. It's amazing how one event can spark so many different conversations
It really is.
about science, about our place in the universe,
Yeah.
even about conspiracy theories.
Right. It just shows how these events resonate with us, even years later.
Definitely. I wanted to circle back to something we touched on earlier, the cultural impact of the Chelyabinsk meteor.
Oh,
You mentioned those dashcam videos becoming this global sensation.
it's true. Those videos were shared and viewed millions of times,
Yeah.
making the Chelyabinsk event one of the most widely witnessed in history.
Mm.
And I think it was more than just the dramatic footage.
Right.
It was the way it captured our collective imagination.
It felt like the universe was sending us a message,
Nothing.
a very loud and fiery one.
It definitely shattered any illusions of safety or predictability.
Right.
We might have had, suddenly this idea of something coming from space
Yeah.
and disrupting our lives. It wasn't just science fiction, it was reality.
Yeah, and for a lot of people, that was a scary realization.
Right?
But it also sparked a lot of curiosity.
It did.
People wanted to know more about asteroids, about the risks,
Absolutely.
about what we could do to protect ourselves.
It was a global conversation starter.
It was.
We saw a surge of interest in astronomy, planetary science, even things like prepping
Mm.
and survivalism.
Wow.
People
Right.
were suddenly confronted with this reality that we live on a planet
Right.
in a very active solar system.
Right.
And that awareness can be both unsettling and exciting.
So it wasn't just about fear.
Yeah.
It was about that primal human instinct to
Okay.
explore, to understand, to make sense of the unknown.
Exactly.
And in a way, it kind of brought people together.
Yeah.
We're all looking up at the sky,
Right.
wondering what else might be out there.
Wondering what else is out there. And I think it fostered a sense of shared vulnerability, but also this sense of shared wonder. And that, I think, is one of the most powerful legacies of this event.
And that legacy extends to the scientific community as well.
Oh, absolutely.
It really spurred a lot of involvement in planetary defense.
It really did. Chelyabinsk was a wake-up call, a reminder that even those smaller asteroids can pose a threat.
Right?
And it led to this renewed focus on developing better detection systems, exploring those deflection techniques, and fostering international collaboration.
You mentioned international collaboration. Is that really happening? Are countries actually working together on something like this?
It might sound surprising, but yes,
Wow.
there's been a real push toward global cooperation
Okay.
on this issue.
That's great.
Scientists, engineers, policymakers from around the world
Wow.
sharing data expertise resources,
That's incredible.
working together to develop strategies and technologies that could one day save lives,
Yeah.
not just in one country, but on a planetary scale.
It seems like this event, as disruptive and frightening as it was, might have actually brought us closer together in a way.
I think there's a lot of truth to that. When faced with a shared threat, humanity often finds a way to cooperate.
Yeah.
And Chelyabinsk, in a strange way, served as this reminder that we're all in this together.
It's a powerful thought, and it makes you realize that the story of the Chelyabinsk meteor is far from over.
It's still unfolding.
It's still shaping our scientific understanding, our global collaborations, and even our cultural narratives.
It really is. And I think it's a story that has something to offer everyone, whether you're a scientist fascinated by the composition of asteroids, or a policymaker grappling with the challenges of planetary defense,
Right.
or simply someone who looks up at the night sky and wonders what else might be out there.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, what's the one takeaway you hope our listeners will remember?
I think just to remember that the universe is full of surprises,
Yeah.
both beautiful and terrifying, but it's also full of opportunities for discovery, collaboration,
Right.
and maybe even a little bit of awe.
I love that, and I think it's a perfect note on which to end this episode.
Agreed.
So to you, our listeners, thank you for being here. We hope you learned something new about this incredible event and its lasting impact on our world.
And as always, keep looking up,
Keep exploring,
and remember, the universe is a vast and wondrous place.
full of mysteries waiting to be uncovered.
Exactly.
Until next time, keep those dash cams rolling.
You never know what you might capture.